absolutely no idea about the exit. All I was focusing on was the revenue generation more than anything else, and like trying to make profit day to day, week to week. Figure out who your potential buyer could be. Understanding that now and being able to reflect, it's really easy to dissect what worked, what didn't work, and put that into a framework.
For you, when you started a business, let's start with this question. I'm always fascinated with people's future planning. When you started your first business, did you think there would be something that you would sell, or were you doing it because you wanted to do something, you needed to earn money? What was the first step into that for you?
I definitely didn't think I would sell it. I mean, this whole world of like exiting businesses was kind of a bit alien to me then. And yeah, had absolutely no idea about the exit. All I was focusing on was the revenue generation more than anything else, and like trying to, make profit day to day, week to week. So no, it was a very different perspective to what I have now. So, these days when I evaluate or decide what I'm going to focus on, it always has an exit route or an exit plan. But back then I would be lying if I said I did. I was winging it like I think most young entrepreneurs are early on. But, from a understanding that now and being able to reflect, it's really easy to dissect what worked, what didn't work, and put that into a framework, into a methodology that I know helps to stack for exit readiness. So all of those kind of trials have helped lead to what I now use as a method. Yeah.
Let's talk about that a little more. Can you talk us through what are the type of things that you would encourage others to do and what you look at for yourself in being exit ready, if that's the path you want to choose?
Yeah, I think one of the very first things, if we're talking like pre-startup stages, figure out who your potential buyer could be for what the thing is, the product, the service, the whatever it is you're trying to do. If it's a tried and tested product or service that's been on the market before, there's competitors for, which most of the time there is these days, let's be honest, you can benchmark and you can try and look at what buyers could be and how then to make it attractive to them. One thing I've been doing quite prolifically in my current business is going out and talking to private equity, because they will be potentially the buyers, or certainly I hope so, of my current business. And I spent time before I even launched, in rooms with them, paid for their time, sat and digested and said, look, how do I stack this thing in a way that would be attractive to you and why? And then you reverse engineer backwards. But, if you can't do that and you're already in a business, one of the best things you can do is start thinking about, okay, if I was going out to market today to buy my business or buy a similar lookalike business, what would de-risk it for me? What would make me feel comfortable? And normally, if you're astute enough, it's a good place to start. So like, you need to make sure you're not the only person doing everything, because there needs to be succession planning. You need to make sure you've got all of your accounts in good order. You're making profit. You're doing all of these, some stuff that you would expect a savvy business person would just want as basics is a pretty good place to start. And then from there, you can start to stack on. But I mean, we could do hours just based on that one topic.
We have a portfolio of 7 companies and they're at different stages, and the ones that are pre-launch, pre-revenue, for me, I say to them, even it feels a little bit too late if you've not, in your experience in life and career, thinking about your plan broadly. Like, as far as a strategy, there's a lot of founders now that are actually quite focused on just creating a very cash positive, sustainable business, and exit is not even on the horizon, because the stereotype is that you create a business, you get funded, you exit at some point, and then you go on to do whatever you choose next. But I think a lot of people are realizing that if it's something you're passionate about, exiting and having a lock in and working with a new owner and then coming out the other end and working out what you do next is not something that is an easy path to travel. And there's a lot of, for me, I found it with my exit, I had a bit of baggage around having to let go and then what I did next and then finding my next passion. And there's more that goes behind it. So from day one, even day -1, I'll call it, thinking about who you are, what you want to do in the future is very important to making some of those decisions for when you do start.
100%. I think it's something that we're all charging towards a financial outcome typically, and some sort of, level up, life leveler. And we sometimes forget the emotional and the kind of spiritual piece that goes with all of that, because there is a huge shift and a huge change. I found in my last business, I was running a team of just under 100 people at one point, felt like I was kind of the center of all of that, the energy that was revolving that. And then one day that was gone. And then no one's calling you or slacking you or checking in with you, and all of that kind of pressure and that energy that you've been thriving off just disappears. And, it does take a bit of adjustment. And I think, prepping yourself and there is stuff you can do to support yourself with that. But yeah, the more pre planning, the better.